we're not in our right minds, are we? Everything's got to have a license attached to it, and that means every time you get a license, you lose a right. And you do it voluntarily. Unknowingly, maybe, but you do it voluntarily. And that's the fundamental problem. And remember, the rule is, if you pay taxes on it, you don't own it. Somebody else does. You're paying all this out, and you wonder why and how is it going to end? When is it going? The government isn't going to voluntarily give back anything. Hand says in a 1947 court decision, you must be a belligerent claimant in person to assert your constitutional rights, or you have none. There isn't a man, woman, and child in this room who, if he doesn't assert his rights, do you honestly expect the court to help you maintain the law? Why should they? There aren't any courts at law. You heard me right. There isn't any court of law left in the United States. Why? Because the United States is in bankruptcy and receivership. It's under martial law and vice admiralty, and thus every court in the United States is an administrative tribunal under admiralty, martial law, commerce, bankruptcy, and receivership. Got all the conservatives that don't understand the difference between revolution, you see, and Christian warfare because they've forgotten the theology of John Knox. And the conservatives are all running around saying, we're going to recapture the country, we're going to bring everything back together, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and we got to elect Ronald Reagan. And the bottom line is they're all intellectually bankrupt. They only pay lip service. This people honors me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. And we don't have guts enough to collectively indict every single one of them for treason. The only guy I know who ever did that has been a hunted man for the last 5 years. But the rest of the American people don't care enough. You see? We're all crying about law enforcement and the police and everything else and what kind of a job they're supposed to be doing. When in God's name is a police officer, why is he someone else's guardian, keeper on the highways? What is a police officer doing on the highways? I had the sheriff in Roseman, California, 7 months ago, made a confession in my front yard because I confronted him with the fact that the sheriff at one time was a common law office, and now it has been compromised. And he said, I know that, John. And I said, then what does that make you? And he kind of looked a little embarrassed, looked down at things a little bit. He said, I'm a revenue officer for the bureaucrats. You deserve the drug dealers in your neighborhood, people, because your cops are out playing revenue officers for bureaucrats. We are all guilty of having redefined what a law enforcement officer is, and thus we don't have anyone to blame but ourselves. And the boys out there in Hollywood, and the girls, I guess, too, and various other individuals in the media will all tell us that the 14th Amendment gave citizenship to black people, and the American dream is now possible for them. Biggest damn lie that ever came down the pipe. Because in American law, only privileges can be taxed. Rights cannot be taxed. Only privileges, benefits, or opportunities can be taxed. Hundreds of court cases to substantiate that. The only trick for the Congress was, okay, let's see, we got all the Negroids, we've got all the Orientals, and some of these South Sea Island tribes, Oh, we got the Indians taken care of. How do we get them whites out there, man? That's the next thing we got to do. Get the whites. Get the whites to do what? To voluntarily give up their rights, that's what. Because they can't take them away from you. Piece of cake. Piece of cake. Problem's all taken care of. Let's see. The United States government owes it, and every American is entitled to Social Security.